Looking for an easy weeknight dinner? These breaded pork chops are quick, easy, and delicious. I'm going to show you how to get perfectly crispy coating without overcooking them, because there is nothing worse than dried out, overcooked pork chops. I'm Christina from It Is a Keeper, and I share tried and true recipes that anyone can make, like these oven-baked pork chops. They're going to become a regular in your dinner rotation. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we need to do to make our breaded oven-baked pork chops is we need to set up our breading station. So that has 3 separate components. So I'm going to set them up here in these bowls. The first component is flour. So I just have some regular all-purpose flour that I'm going to put in the first bowl. In the second bowl, I'm going to add some eggs. And to our eggs, I'm going to add some milk. Now, here's a little trick. When you're working with eggs in this recipe, use room temperature eggs if you can, because they will incorporate so much easier. Now, in our third bowl, we're going to add some seasoned breadcrumbs. And to that, I'm going to add some grated Parmesan cheese. And then last but not least, I'm going to add some seasoning. So here I have dried parsley and some granulated garlic. So that's gonna go right in with the breadcrumbs. Now we're just going to mix everything together. So I'm going to mix up our eggs and our milk, and I'm going to mix up our breadcrumbs, seasonings, and Parmesan cheese. I just use my hands. They're gonna get messy anyway. So now I'm going to bring in our pork chops. And here I have 4 boneless pork chops, and you'll see they're pretty thin. They're not super thick, and that's one of the keys to quick cooking, is you don't want to use pieces of meat that are too thick. So these are pretty thin. I'm going to season them before we coat them though, so that everything has a nice seasoning layer on it. So I just have some of my all-purpose seasoning blend, and you can get that recipe in the show notes, or you can just use salt and pepper. And I'll turn these over. I'm actually going to make sure they're in a single layer here. And if you start with your seasoning in a separate bowl, then when you touch it with porky fingers, you can just throw it away. You're not messing up the entire container of seasoning. Okay, perfect. So this is just gonna make sure that our pork is seasoned well. So now we're going to start breading these. So we're gonna take each pork chop and we're gonna coat it in flour. Then it's gonna go into the egg mixture. So the flour is gonna help the egg mixture stick to the pork. And then last but not least, into the breadcrumb mixture. And you'll see I'm trying to use just one hand so that my other hand doesn't become too messy. And I have a free hand cleaner hand to work with if I need it. And then we'll just repeat this with our other 3 pork chops. Okay, so I know these are called oven-baked pork chops, but we're going to start them in a skillet. And there's a reason for this. This gets us that nice crispy crust that we want on there, but they're only going to be seared in the skillet. We're gonna transfer them to a preheated oven. So I do have my oven preheating right now. So I have my skillet getting warm, and to this I'm going to add some sliced garlic. Not minced, just sliced, because what we wanna do is flavor this olive oil that's in the pan with the garlic. And the slices won't burn as quickly as minced garlic will. So we're just gonna use that. I'm just gonna stir it around just to get it a couple of minutes, maybe a minute or so in here, just to get that olive oil fragrance with the garlic. Okay, so our garlic is getting nice and toasty brown here, and that's exactly what we're looking for. When you can start to really smell it, it's doing its job, and it's making that olive oil fragranced. So I am going to take it out. We don't want it to burn. Burnt garlic is bitter. Now our garlic has done its job. Our pan is nice and warm. We're going to put our pork chops in there. Just make sure that oil is all over the pan. And at this point, we're not looking to cook our pork chops through. We just want to get a nice crust on both sides. You can tell when they're not ready because they kind of stick to the bottom of the pan. They won't release, but that Parmesan is melting nicely. Now, when you're doing this, you want to make sure you're using a skillet that can go into the oven, because these are going to transfer into the oven. Okay, so now we had our pork was going for a couple of minutes here. I'm going to take it off the cooktop, and I'm going to put it in the oven, and it's going to finish cooking in there. So these are not done yet. We're gonna put them in the oven and let it finish that way. Okay, so my oven timer just went off, and I took the pork chops out. I'm just going to temp them. We're looking for 145. These are perfect. I'm gonna go in on this guy right here. Ooh, I feel that crispy crust. Perfect. All right, let's dig in here. I'm gonna cut into this one right here on the end. I love a good crispy pork chop. So juicy. Because we didn't overcook them on the stovetop. We just got that nice sear on the stovetop and then put them in the oven. They came out perfectly. They are so juicy, but then nice and crispy on the outside. You guys are gonna love these. Put these on your weeknight dinner rotation. You will not be sorry. These breaded oven-baked pork chops are definitely a keeper. What would you serve with them? Gravy or applesauce or something else? Let me know in the comments. And if you want another awesome pork chop recipe, make sure you check out my Korean pork chops. They are one of the most popular recipes on my website. Thanks for joining me today. You can get the full printable recipe in the video description below. I'll see you next time. Bye.